In that sense, it's going to be more difficult because we're also entering economic great difficulties, truly awful times. We've got inflation, the like of which we've not seen for 40 years.
Yes, we have, apart from all the political conflicts, we have a global economy which is out of balance. And what I want to highlight particularly here is the consequences. We may have little influence on how the central banks decide about the future policies, but we know that if we don't change course, we will have hundreds of millions of people falling back into poverty. We have tens of millions probably dying, possibly of hunger. So this is a misery, and we have to address it. So to bring it at the forefront of our topics here, of our program, and to generate action. That's my intention.
There's never been a more important time and a more serious time for these talks to be taking place.
Yes, that's also reflected in the mood. I mean, it's the most consequential meeting which we ever had in the last 50 years, I would say. And the mood will be much more serious, much more concerned compared to the previous years, because we are at the turning point of history.
The Homeland Security Act of 2002 takes the next critical steps in defending our country. The continuing threat of terrorism, the threat of mass murder on our own soil, will be met with a unified, effective response. Dozens of agencies charged with Homeland Security will now be located within one cabinet department with the mandate and legal authority to protect our people. It's now my privilege to sign the Homeland Security Act of 2002.
"45 days. That's all it took for a major catastrophe to hit Americans where it hurts the most, here at home, to completely surrender their freedoms for the so-called common good. Now today we're going to discuss the events that author Whitney Webb says will lead to this happening once again, but in this case it will be the event that will cause us to capitulate our online anonymity and force acceptance of a CBDC issued by unelected leaders with a very questionable endgame. Watch.
The cyber realm, and they've been collaborating in a lot of ways with these same big banks and also American intelligence agencies in unprecedented ways that has not really gotten any coverage over the past several years. And a lot of this is housed within a public-private partnership the WEF manages called the World Economic Forum Partnership Against Cybercrime. And this particular organization, back a few years ago, gamed out with the Carnegie Endowment, along with the Federal Reserve, the Bank of England, the European Central Bank, so some of the biggest central banks in the world, as well as some of the biggest commercials in the world, like Bank of America and JP Morgan, how essentially the US financial system was due to be the victim of a massive cyber attack. You know, if there would be or will be a cyber attack in the near future, the banking and financial system in the United States is in deep doo-doo, right? So if you're the big banks and the intelligence agencies, you want to avoid what happened after the 2008 economic crisis, where there was unprecedented anger at Wall Street because the whole hope and change Obama psyop, essentially, is probably not going to work again.
And if you're watching this video right now, and like me, you're still a retail investor, you know that we, in 2023, still have major issues with the banking systems and the finance markets and how they work to the disadvantage of those of us in retail. And so what Whitney is saying here makes a lot of sense, that they would try to point the fingers in other directions, not to incur the wrath of another Occupy Wall Street 2.0 takeover.
So how do you allow that collapse to happen? Because it has to happen in such a way that the banks and the government are essentially blameless. Well, have a cyber attack happen, and you can literally blame any nation state or group for that hack. And we know this because of what WikiLeaks published right before Julian Assange was completely silenced and then later arrested and dragged out of the Ecuadorian embassy in London, Vault 7, which revealed things like the Umbridge program, among other things, that U.S. intelligence and other intelligence agencies that are affiliated with this WEF partnership against cybercrime have the ability to place the fingerprints of any nation state actor they wish, including Russia, China, Iran, and really North Korea, any other group as well, not just nation states, put their fingerprints in a hack they actually commit themselves.
Now, back in 2021, Whitney wrote an article for Investigative Reports entitled "Cyber Attacks Will Collapse the Global Financial System." I'll put the link to the PDF down in the description. But I found something interesting when reading over this last night, and it's down here on page 3. It says, as for influence operations, now they're talking about this WEF-Carnegie report and how they're going to try to control the narratives when this type of false flag event takes place. It says, as for influence operations, the report divides these into 2 categories, those that target individual firms and those that target markets overall. Regarding the first category, the report states that organized actors will spread fraudulent rumors to manipulate stock prices and generate profit based on how much the price of the stock was moved artificially. It adds that in these influence operations, firms and lobbyists use astroturfing campaigns, which create a false appearance of a grassroots support to tarnish the value of a competing brand or attempt to sway policymaking decisions by abusing calls for online public comments. The similarities between this latter statement and the Wall Street Bets phenomenon of January 2021 are obvious. Now, we talked about this just a few videos ago with the Digital Discrimination Act and the FCC, federal government taking over of the internet airwaves, and how they want to be able to control all the narratives so that nothing like what happened back in January of 2021 would be able to happen again. Now, in the next part of this video and interview, she's going to talk about CBDC implementation and how they would put the fast forward on that and basically force it down our throats. Watch.
From the power elite to end online anonymity, and people are obviously resisting that because it changes the nature of the internet and supercharges the surveillance capabilities already built into it to a hugely significant degree. And it's a bigger problem when you consider that the Department of Justice specifically has a pre-crime program that they've been operating since the Trump administration called DEEP, where people have literally been arrested for things they've posted on social media. Tying all of this to your government ID, considering, you know, all of those factors as it relates to U.S. law enforcement and the Department of Justice, which again is partnered with all of these things, is an extremely awful idea. And the idea that, and the fact that you have all these financial services entities involved at the same time, there's this push for digital ID, not just for the internet, but to tie your digital ID to your banking through central bank digital currencies or heavily regulated stable coins and deposit tokens. I mean, programmable money. I mean, the implications here are huge. And there's obviously a lot of resistance from certain quarters of the US population and elsewhere against the digital ID push and the CBDC push. But have the internet go down for X amount of time because of some massive cyber attack, and they bring it back and say, oh, well, we have to know who you are. And now the only way to get online is to use our digital ID. You know, they're going to get the kind of fast, rapid onboarding and mass adoption that they are seeking for those programs.
So going back to the beginning of this video and the creep WEF leader, Klaus Schwab, what he said about this moment in history and being able to change the entire financial system, digital IDs, implement CBDCs for more control, and the end to online anonymity. It is extremely scary, and we should be fighting this tooth and nail. We saw just recently the effects of COVID-19 with the lockdowns and how they were able to force vaccinations onto people that did not want them. There was no bodily autonomy. But the road we're going down this time won't have to do with healthcare or taking a shot. It'll be about the financial systems and taking CBDC over fiat currency. And as Whitney pointed out, most of our lives now have become completely interconnected with the internet and being online. And there is a fight to protect human freedom, our liberty, and our dignity against predatory global oligarchies. It's one that is fundamental for the existence and the survival of America as a free nation. And this new cyber war that they're planning, for whatever happens, it's going to remind us that we need to continue to be out there fighting together and united as a people. So this video went a little long, but I wanted to make sure that we tried to touch on all the major subjects that I think are going to be in play here. This is all supposed to be before the beginning of 2025. Maybe right in time for the 2024 elections. And you know, I never like coming on here and doing videos to try to scare anyone or anything like that, but I think it's something we should be keeping our eyes on. I don't want anyone to sleep at the wheel in case this actually does happen. At least we'll be prepared. All right, this seems like a good place to wrap this video, guys. Let me know down in the comments below. Is this something that worries you? Seeing what happened with the PATRIOT Act and how quickly we relinquished all of those freedoms. Do you think that would happen again if we were losing our ability to get online, to the internet, or even worse, if we lost the ability to access our financial funds? And as always, thank you for all the likes, the views, the comments, my new subscribers, my OGs. I appreciate each and every one of you. We are here to break the wheel. This is Ape Nation. I'm the Massalorian, and I'm out.